everybody. My name is Merkel Rody, and I'm so glad to see you guys here today. I'm going to wait and see who all wants to come on to this live. I'll just tell you a little bit about myself while I'm waiting for people to come on. So I am a holistic health and life coach, and I healed myself from over 30 symptoms using nutrition, mindset, and emotional work. So now it is my mission to help other people do the same thing. So the things that I healed are spasmodic dysphonia. I had like this whole tremor thing that happened in my voice. And then also I had a constant spasm from my right eye down to my right hip. I had terrible digestive issues. I had all sorts of neurological stuff, crazy like dizziness and vertigo on a regular basis, brain fog. I had a neuropathy in my foot that was definitely annoying as well. I had menopausal symptoms. I had, gosh, the list goes on and on. So that's just a little bit about my history, about what I have been dealing with and how I sort of move my life forward. So today I wanted to talk about habits. So sometimes it can be a challenge to implement some of the habits that we know we should be having in our lives. So why is that? Because of the fact that it kind of boils down to what kind of person that we see ourselves as and who we perceive ourselves to be. So it's kind of important before we even get going with making a list of habits that are good ones to have, which we can do later on. But for now, it's good to just kind of start with basic things like, who am I? Who do I perceive myself to be? So back before I began my healing journey, I kind of had this feeling about myself that I was unreliable because I had never been able to stick on a diet, or, if I was on a fitness plan, I would be good for a while, but then I would kind of fall off of it, whatever it was, over time, a lot of times. So I perceived myself to be someone who was not able to stick with a program, and therefore that was true, because already you lay the groundwork thinking, okay, I'm never going to be able to stick with this long term. I know myself. I'm going to, go run off for the chocolate or the alcohol or the coffee or whatever it was at the time that I was trying to kind of kick. This is back in the day before I started my healing journey. But anyway, so it's important to just dig down into the identity portion of that, because also when we see ourselves as a sick person, sometimes we latch onto that identity, and I did that as well. Once I got really sick, and then that sort of became my identity, and everything that I perceived in the world was on through that filter of, I am a sick person, and I am not able to do X, Y, or Z because I'm sick. I have to constantly be worrying about my food, my supplements, my routine. I have to be, perfect because I'm sick and I'm never going to heal. So again, that identity did not really serve me either. I did manage to heal in spite of that, but along the way, I also had a lot of belief that I could heal and that I would heal. So Anthony William talks a lot about the fact that we did not create our illness. But what he does not address as much in all of his literature is the fact that our adrenaline and our thoughts maybe didn't cause the problems, but it doesn't help us heal either when we're having the negative thoughts about ourselves, our own abilities, our body's ability to heal. So it's just important to kind of take a look at all of that and maybe tweak it a little bit and say, okay, I when we first start the healing journey, it's tough because a lot of times we're not seeing the results that we want to see right away. It's sort of a delayed gratification kind of situation with this healing naturally. We often will get little signs that things are going well, but if we have something major going on, especially a neurological issue, we are not going to necessarily see an instant cure always right away. So we're going to have to just kind of fall back on our belief and our faith that I am not a sick person. I am a person who is on the road to recovery. I know it's hard to say, okay, if I've been sick for X amount of months or years, it's hard to you can't just flip it on a dime and say, I'm a healthy person and I'm perfectly healed, because your brain's going to call BS on that and it's not going to buy into that way of thinking. But we can possibly just modify I'm not a sick person, but also I'm becoming a well person. Now that's one maybe you could get behind. I'm becoming a well person and I'm going to move myself forward with my habits and the things that I'm going to do that I have faith will get me there eventually. So that's the first thing. We just gotta look at who do we perceive ourselves to be. So I know for myself, I think of back in the day when I would, be going to the gym and I'd see all these super fit people, and I was just like, gosh, how do they mentally do that? How do they just have the dedication to stick with it all the time, 24/7, every day? But they see themselves as this fit person. And so they make choices for that fit person. What would that fit person do? What would that fit person eat? What would the sleep pattern be for that fit person? And so similarly, as a well person, when we're visualizing ourselves as well and as whole and as healthy and thriving, what would that person do every day? So it just kind of makes a visualization possible when we start kind of fleshing out the details of imagining what it would be like to be that person. And then we feel those feelings of okay, that feels pretty powerful. When you feel like you've got all of your faculties and your body's there for you, it feels very empowering in the world. So it makes you feel like you can walk away from any temptation on the dinner table for sure. That's nothing. You got that. No problem. So I think that another thing that we need to do when we're trying to make new habits and kind of just change our routine is just recognizing that change is hard. So I recommend just picking one thing at a time. Sometimes we get all this enthusiasm, especially we're approaching the first of the year here where everybody's making New Year's resolutions. We're like, okay, I'm going to do better in the new year and la la la. And we get a little overzealous. But that, unfortunately, sometimes the enthusiasm is great, but also when we put too many things on our plate without just implementing them one by one, then it becomes overwhelming and it becomes something that it's harder to do that for the long run. It's much easier to make one change and stick with that one change for, perpetuity, till we're, that's our new habit. That's just what we're doing. So I recommend one thing at a time, because otherwise it gets too scary and too hard to sometimes just make that happen for the long period of time. So after we master that one thing, you can feel pretty confident after a week or a month or whatever it is that you feel like you are successfully comfortable with that new change. It feels like a routine. It feels kind of natural now. So I think that's a good indicator that we're ready to maybe add another one on. But as we're doing even that, just that first one, I want you to notice when there's some resistance. When you're, so let's just pretend your new habit is, I'm going to get up at 8 o'clock every day. And so you do it for a couple days, but then you start kind of going, well, do I really need to do that? I just don't know. And so again, we have to just like look at that. What is that belief that's creeping in that's making us feel like we can't do it? Is it a belief about ourselves? Is it that old tape playing in our brains of, yeah, you never really stick with anything? Or is it a fear that, perhaps you're not getting enough sleep? Or it's just important to listen, because, some of those resistance points might have actually something good to say, and it's always good to listen to those things, because if that were the case, if you're not getting enough sleep, okay, that's okay. So let's take a break and let's maybe modify. Maybe that goal was a little bit too lofty. Maybe 9 o'clock is a better goal. So you got to be flexible and also listen to your body, listen to your own intuition about what actually is going to work for you long term. Because that's what we're after. We're after a long-term change. We're not after just a week or two of, yay, I did it all, and then forget about it. So, that's an important thing. Another thing you can do is when you're adding in new habits, you kind of link the new habit onto the old habit. So if you've already established kind of a good morning routine with certain things, let's pretend you are great with your lemon water in the morning first thing, and then you do your celery juice 30 minutes later. Then about 30 minutes later, you're doing your heavy metal detox smoothie. So those are all wonderful habits to have. But let's pretend that maybe you're trying to bring in some more mindfulness, or you're trying to bring in a meditation practice into your day. So maybe you could just say to yourself, okay, I'm going to link that meditation practice in somewhere either in between those three things, or before or after. So like suddenly you've got, instead of 3 things that you do in the morning, you have 4 things you do. And so that just automatically gets linked into something that's already comfortable. So it's almost like it comes along for the ride, because there's less resistance in your mind to doing the routine. You're going to do it. And so just having that linked on to the other thing is very helpful. So, another thing I want to just say about this whole habit thing is the fact that you never need to make this new habit a condition to love yourself. So you are whole, you are worthy of love, you are perfect the way you are. And just because, let's say we stumble with our new habit a little bit in the beginning, that's okay. We just, get on it the next day and do better. We're just looking for a 1% improvement from today to tomorrow. It's not going to be necessarily 0 to 60. It's not going to be a dramatic thing. Changes happen one step at a time, one little change, one daily routine. I did it today. I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to do it the next day. Consistency over time helps us to have a lasting change. So I want to encourage you, when you fall off the wagon, if you do and you don't, okay, you couldn't stick with, whatever the new goal was you missed today. I want to first of all say that studies say that has no bearing on whether or not you're successful of making it a habit in the long run. The fact that you missed a day has no bearing on it. What has bearing on it is the fact that you resume it as quickly as possible. So we're going to have those days. And honestly, we have to be flexible, because you can hear my cat in the background. Sorry about that. My pets always like to get involved with these. So we just have to love ourselves more when we fall off the wagon. It's not it's not a basis or justification for us to beat ourselves up more and be horrible to ourselves. Instead, it's a sign that we need a little nurturing. We need a little introspection. Like, why wasn't I able to do this consistently? And again, like we were talking about the morning waking up time. So maybe that's not a realistic goal for you right now. Maybe if you're trying to be too ambitious, maybe you need to modify the change a little bit. Maybe, if you're just starting celery juice and you're trying to do it 7 days a week, if you're having trouble doing that, let's look at it. Let's say, okay, either I could make my juice for 2 days in a row, at one time, and then have it for today and tomorrow, and then you would be less time in the kitchen prepping. That would be a solution to that. Another solution would be, okay, every other day I do celery juice or something like that. It's not about being perfect. It's not about that, because we have to just really realize where we are in our journey, accept it, make friends with it, and trust that even if we can't do leaps and bounds of change and we have to do baby steps, it's still going to get us there. It's still going to get us there in the long run. So we just have to always, always, always remember that our body wants to heal and we are enough. Those two things. You are enough. What you're doing is enough. All you can do is all you can do, and all you can do is enough. So I did want to I had a couple questions for today, and I think I saw Kathy is the one that asked these. So I'm glad you're here today, Kathy. Hello. Okay, so you asked, number one, I'm always looking for fat-free sauces to keep me from eating unnecessary fat. Recipes, ideas. So I can post a couple. I tend to rely on the medical medium recipes for that kind of stuff a lot, just because they're tried and true, they're easy, and he tends to do a lot of things that are fat-free, whereas most conventional, even vegan recipes and things, they always have a lot of fat in them and stuff, but you can modify those too. So the Alfredo sauce that he has made out of cauliflower, that's yummy. I'm sure you may have tried this anyway. There's a pesto that it's made from spinach and basil. That one's pretty good. And then I always like to make salsas, and let's see. Oh, his French dressing recipe from the Brain Saver book is pretty yummy too. It's you use like red pepper and mango, kind of blend it up, and there's some other stuff in there too, but it was really pretty yummy. I honestly have gotten away from too much fancy cooking when it's just me. So I have two daughters, and they're in their 20s. And they're basically out of the house. I have my youngest is a senior in college. And so she comes home, for breaks and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's just me and my husband. And so he does the morning routine, medical medium, but then we try and keep him off of the no foods. But, he has a little bit more free reign, and, I have to let him do his path just like everybody else. You just can only control yourself. So when I'm cooking for myself and him, I tend to just go simple. Especially for me, I do the morning routine, do my adrenal snacks through the day. I do a salad always, and then I will do an evening cooked something or other. Like usually potatoes are the starring role of that cooked something or other. It's a stew. Like last week, I made that zucchini sweet potato stew that Medical Medium has. I love that one. The portobello stew is another great one. And so I tend to just go simple. And sometimes I'll just I'll steam a pot of potatoes and make like just put I love that Rayo's, or it's RAO apostrophe S is the brand name. I don't know how to say it, if I'm saying it right or not, but that is one of my favorite like convenience foods that I actually indulge in, and sometimes I'll just, and it's not fat free. So that's, that's the thing about it. But it has a little bit of olive oil in it, but I just use a little bit of that on top of my potato, and it's easy, quick, easy dinner that I absolutely love it. Similarly, I'll just mash up those potatoes, add a little potato starch in there, make a pizza crust out of it, put the Rayo sauce on there, and then some veggies thrown on there and roast it up, and it's so good. So easy. I'm like everybody else. You want to minimize your time in the kitchen as much as possible. We're in there a lot. And don't get me wrong, I don't mind it, and I love the fact that I'm able to do it, and it makes me feel so great. But, when I don't have to do it, then I batch cook stuff. I make, when I'm making my salads, I'll make several at a time and put them in a lid with a lid so that they stay fresh. And I make a big old pot of whatever it is I'm making, so I have it to eat for a few days. So I don't have to cook lunch and dinner. I'm always doing the breakfast thing. Lately, I've even been doing my celery juice for 2 days, though, honestly, because I'm just trying to focus on some other aspects of my life. So I'm trying to simplify things and make, problem solve. So I have more of a life too. That's what I'm trying to do as well. So let's see, you say also, since it's winter, I'm always really cold and it's hard to do a cleanse. Suggestions. Well, first and foremost, I don't know if you always have to be on a cleanse. I'm going to say something controversial. I don't think you always have to be staying fat-free. I think that everybody's different. I think that sometimes, for myself, I noticed. So I spent a few years aspiring to be fat-free. The first year I couldn't really do it. Then the next year I started to be able to do it. So there were a couple years that I stayed fat-free a majority of the time. Let's just say it that way. But then I went on a trip, not this past summer, but the summer before. And we went to Europe, and I, of course, was like, of course I'm going to enjoy the fat in my food when I'm on vacation. I tried my best to stay away from the troublemaker foods, which I think I did a pretty good job. It's easier over there, honestly. But I did bring some fat back into my diet, and I noticed that like the little neurological things that were plaguing me still, those kind of like subsided. They seemed like a little less pronounced when I was eating a little bit of fat. So for me, my nervous system, the way my blood sugar situation is, a little bit of fat feels okay for me. Now, I'm not talking about lots of fat, and I'm also kind of picky about what kind of fat, because oils don't do great for me, but a little avocado goes great. Like that seems to be my sweet spot. So that is one thought on the matter. I don't know. As far as the cleanse goes, the simplified is really pretty awesome in the winter. If you're wanting to do a cleanse, because you can do cooked food like for the majority of the time. So I don't know if you've ever looked into the simplified. I did, when I first started my journey, I did about 5 original 369s. Those were tough on me. My neurological stuff were just kind of making my life unpleasant at the time. And so those cleanses, I super suffered through them. I did them, but I didn't really sleep while I did that. But I forced myself. I was just like, I have to do this to heal. I have to. And then, so then I took a break, and I didn't do one for probably a year or so. And then I decided, once the Cleanse to Heal book came out and he came out with that simplified cleanse, then I wound up doing a bunch of those during that period of time, because I could go fat free, but the cooked food seemed to agree with my nervous system a little bit better. So anyway, so I would say in the winter, maybe do a simplified, or, like a mono cleanse you could do with potatoes. That would be another idea if you felt like you felt called to do a cleanse. I just, I feel like maybe we are not meant to live on a cleanse all the time, and that it is important to do them periodically. I think especially if you want to try and make some progress. But I know this is kind of counter to what some other practitioners might say. But honestly, I think that the restrictions and the feeling that restricted all the time takes the joy out of eating sometimes. So, we have to weigh the emotional side of this whole healing journey as well. And we have to enjoy our lives. We have to feel free and like we can do things that are not necessarily always in this same routine all the time. Now, that's just my opinion and that's just my experience. Some people I know feel the very best when they're on those cleanses. So by all means, if you feel your best when you're on the cleanse, then yes, do it. But for me, I did not find that to be the case for myself. So that's just my 2 cents worth. And, I am proof you can still heal. We can still heal. Our body wants to heal. Even if we were eating the inflammatory foods, not saying to do that, but even if we were doing that, our body would still have a bias that wanted to heal us. So it's important that we look at other things than just the food. We have to look at our emotional side of healing. How are we enjoying things? What is our belief? Are we feeling kind of like in that rut, like, oh, I have to do this or I'm never going to heal, and it just feels like drudgery every day when you're coming, into the kitchen, instead of like, look what I get to do for myself today. I get to show myself so much love because I am giving it all of these nutritional building blocks that it needs to thrive and come back to perfect health. So let's see, I'm going to read down the questions a little bit more. Kathy says, I've been dealing with nerve pain in both feet for over 10 years. I'm sorry, that sounds not fun. And you have not seen any change since I started following Medical Medium 5 years ago. And now the pain has started in your wrist. Okay. So again, I not knowing your particulars, what is what with how you feel on the cleanse and all of that stuff. I want to just invite you to just start thinking about other aspects of your healing, perhaps in addition. And if you give it some thought and say no, that's not it, then maybe I'm off the mark. But there's an energetic and an emotional component to all of this stuff. So the pathogens have a way into a stronghold in our bodies if we're keeping that adrenaline kind of pumping through our veins all the time, and we're in an emotionally kind of low vibe kind of state. So when we're in that low vibe state, that kind of sets the stage. The immune system is depressed, and those pathogens can have a party while we're in that low vibe state. So it's important to look at those other things that can help elevate our vibe. Is it a belief that we need to work on? Is it something we can add into our day by just, taking time to energetically, unite with the earth, put our feet on the ground, get some sunshine on our face? Those things do a world of good for us. And sometimes they're forgotten. We forget about that when we're so focused on the food and the supplements. That brings me to the next question or comment on this. And you said, due to the cost of supplements, it's hard to take the dosages that I need to heal. So I want to just take a moment and have you maybe rethink what that belief is, because if your belief is that you can't take the dosages that you need to heal, then your mind is very powerful, and your mind will set the stage for, well, that's reality. That's what we're basing this on. We can't get the supplements that we need to heal, so we're out of luck. We're probably just doomed to feel this always. So I just want to offer you the idea that maybe if we could elevate that thought, is it possible that you could heal with whatever supplements that you have available to you right now? What if God in the universe is so on your team and in support of your healing in you, that what if whatever supplements are in your cabinet right now are the exact right ones that you need to heal? Let's think about that. And every time you take them, why not just say thank you and say, I know this is healing me. This is healing me. This is just the right amount that I need to heal me. So I think that's a beautiful thing. If you can get on board with that, if it doesn't feel too false to you, because we can't go from, I'm never going to heal to, yay, I'm fully healed, or I'm whatever. Your brain isn't going to get on board with that. So can we just elevate that thought to, what if the universe is conspiring for me? What if? It's almost a question. It's not even, you don't have to have a steadfast belief yet. You could just pose it as a question to yourself. What if, in fact, I could heal using these supplements? What if maybe I need to relax my protocol a little bit? Maybe I need to just not worry so much about it, that I'm not doing everything perfectly. That's a trap we can all get into, and I was in it too. And then it becomes this thing, like every day I was like trying to do as much as possible that I could do, as many of the protocols as I could. And well, I think that for a period of time it did help me, but also now I feel that I don't need to still be in that same mindset. I feel like we can evolve as our body heals, as we are cleansing out our liver. Maybe it's something that, with the pain that you were talking about, Kathy, I think that, maybe there's just a way to lessen the detox. I don't know if you notice more of that pain when you're detoxing more, or if it's just sort of a constant thing that you don't feel relief from one way or the other. These are all super important things, and maybe you can put that down in the comments and stuff like that, and I'll circle back to it. But I think that just shifting the mind and bringing in maybe a little meditation practice on the daily. So I know for myself, I set myself a goal to do a 30-day challenge of a Joe Dispenza meditation every day for 30 days. And I did miss a day, I think it was, but it dramatically makes me feel better. So when I get up, before I get up in the morning, I take a moment to decide who I want to be in the world today. I decide what my intention is, what am I going to do? And my intention for myself is to be a calm, powerful, peaceful person, and that I can remain calm. I'm just trying at all costs to remain calm. And so when I can decide that in the morning and then add my habit of the meditation into my routine as well, I feel calmer and I feel more confident that I will be calm even if something bad happens. So just having that confidence in myself and knowing that I can handle whatever happens, that reduces a lot of anxiety, because it's that anxiety of like the fear of the unknown. What's going to happen today that I'm going to be upset by or that's going to derail me? And instead, I feel more like, okay, I can handle it. My nervous system is calm. I know what to do. I have the tools and I'm going to do it. So if you haven't already started doing the meditations, I would say try it. I'll put a link below this too of one of my favorite Joe Dispenza meditations, and see if you like it. Of course, the medical medium ones are awesome too, and I have done those historically, for years and years. But for me, I just wanted to kind of change it up, and the Joe Dispenza ones focus more on the mindset and more on deciding, making choices of who we want to be, how we're going to show up in the world, and what we envision for ourselves. That's a lot of visualization and feeling into the future. And we need to do that, and using the quantum field to do it, so we can escalate that healing, so we can escalate our energy elevation, and we can manifest whatever it is we want in the world. We can manifest our health, our wealth, our relationships, whatever we're seeking. So anyway, I've gone on and on, you guys. This is longer than I intended it to be, but thank you so much for joining me. And again, I'll put some of these links below, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, and I look forward to chatting with you soon. All right.